Spiritual Gumbo, hostile takeover, stranger in a strange land. So many different things, but we come back in from speaking on when Abraham breaks his literal foot off into the faces and necks of giant kings and giant men and those to the like, and how a dirty heathen is given some charge of speaking of a character that he believes is the Most High, and how Abraham has to correct him with whom he believes is his true Most High. However, we speak to the fact that the Most High God tells Abraham, if you can number the stars, if you can number the dust of the earth, that will be your seed. And so we pick off in verse 7 of chapter 15. And he said to him, I am God that brought thee out of the land of the Chaldeans, so as to give thee this land to inherit. And I'm going to retrograde right back to verse 4, because Abraham was sad, remember, that he was going to have to give everything he had to his homeborn servant's son. In verse 4, and immediately there was the voice of the Lord, not the Lord God, but the Lord, said to him, saying, this shall not be thine heir, but he that shall come out of thee shall be thine heir. And he brought him out. And he brought him out, meaning that he was obviously with him, and said to him, look up now to heaven, and count the stars, if thou shalt be able to number them fully. He said, thus shall be thy seed. And Abraham believed God, and it was counted to him for righteousness. Stop right there. Now they have this belief, or they have people trying to believe that the Lord and God are one and the same, but the Lord is a vessel who is working on behalf of the Most High God. So if he believes the Lord and the Lord is sent on behalf of the Most High God, then he's believing what the Most High God has put forth. Therefore, it was counted to him for righteousness. Verse 7, and he said to him, I am God that brought thee out of the land. I am God, not the Lord. Come on. I am God that brought thee out of the land of the Chaldeans, so as to give thee this land to inherit. And he said, Master and Lord, I'm telling you, in this instance, many people would contend that this is one being. I am speaking that he is speaking to the Most High God and to the Lord that is there right present with him. How shall I know that I shall inherit? And he said to him, and he is lowercase, not being that it's not the Most High, but just listen to what it said. And he said to him, take for me an heifer in her 3rd year, and a she-goat in her 3rd year, and a ram in his 3rd year, and a dove and a pigeon. So he took all these and divided them in the midst, and set them opposite of each other. But the birds he did not divide. And birds came down upon the bodies, even upon the divided parts of them. And Abraham sat down by them. And Abraham sat down by them. And about sunset a trance fell upon Abraham. And lo, a great gloomy terror falls upon him. And it was said to Abraham, thou shalt surely know that thy seed shall be a sojourner in a land not their own, and they shall enslave them, and afflict them, and humble them 400 years. And the nation whomsoever they shall serve, I will judge. And after this, they shall come forth hither with much property. But thou shalt depart to thy fathers in peace, nourished in a good old age. And in the fourth generation they shall return, for the sins of the Amorites are not yet filled up, even until now. Stop right there. The reason why this is called hostile takeover is because there's so many different little things that take place in this happening that we have to sit down and realize that the land that the people come to and to inherit, they come into it warlike and they take it over hostilely. Okay? And then the same land that they go into as enslaved in, it's almost like it's a hostile takeover of the people from their original life. It's funny how it all works out. Well, it's not really funny. It's just poetic justice how it all turns out. But do you catch that part? The Amorites, for the sins of the Amorites are not yet filled up, even until now. So that means that whatever the Amorites are doing right now is still a part of the trial and tribulation of the people, of the seed of Abraham. And when the sun was about to set, there was a flame. Verse 17. And behold, furnace and lamps of fire, which passed between the divided pieces. In that day, the Lord, not the Lord God, but the Lord, made a covenant with Abraham, saying, to thy seed I will give this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river Euphrates, the Kenites and the Kenizzites, and the Ketmonians, and the Kittites, and the Perizzites, and the Raphaim, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Evites, and the Girgashites, and the Jebusites. Stop right there. Got to talk about the hostile takeover. This is the explanation of the hostile takeover. He's telling him of what all the peoples, the nations, a Gentile and corporate who are under the banisters of these nations. He's telling Abraham that his seed is going to go and eventually take over these people. Hostile takeover. It really is a deep thing that happens. He gets to see. And listen, Egypt, the Most High God could have just told him that his people were going to be in Egypt. How hard would that have been? He knows where Egypt is at. But to be a sojourner in a land not their own, they weren't sojourners in Egypt. They were strangers in Egypt. Right. They was trying to get up out of there. The Egyptians made sure they couldn't. Remember? However, could have just told us that could have just told Abraham that his seed was going to be in Egypt. How hard would that have been? Still a land not their own, but it would have given some clarity to everything. However, we're not going to get carried away. We'll just keep moving. Verse 1 of chapter 16. And Sarah, the wife of Abraham, bore to him no children. And she had an Egyptian maid, whose name was Hagar. And Sarah said to Abraham, behold, the Lord has restrained me from bearing. Go therefore unto my maid, that I may get children for myself through her. Stop right there. The craziest thing about that entire ordeal is that the woman was willing to take and claim the children through this other woman who's Egyptian. Now, what's even more awkward is that why would she just not do that with a homeborn servant? The reason being is because she half believed. She half believed that if the Most High God was going to give her a child, then her child would need to be of pure stock. And to give Abraham a woman of pure stock like her that would make it to where her child would be second in line no matter what. But for the Egyptian, you see, okay, for that to be the case, she's not even one of their people, so she could easily chase that child off, the woman and the child. Anyway, played a dangerous game, and it turned out to work in the people's favor and still hurt them. That's enough for today. Spiritual Gumbo out.